People who eat the widest variety of foods in their 60s and 70s consistently outlive those who eat the fewest, not by a small margin, but by years. And the gap has nothing to do with eating perfectly. It has to do with eating broadly. The question researchers are now asking is, what is a narrow diet quietly doing inside an aging body? Most of us develop a food routine without really deciding to. The same breakfast, the same handful of dinners cycling through the week. It feels sensible, efficient even. You know what you like, you know what agrees with you, and you stick with it. But what feels like discipline may actually be a slow narrowing. And for people over 60, that narrowing carries consequences, the research is only beginning to spell out clearly. The concept researchers use is called dietary diversity, and it is exactly what it sounds like. How many different foods a person eats across a given week or month. Studies tracking older adults over time, some following thousands of people for a decade or more, have found that low dietary diversity is independently linked to faster physical decline, weaker grip strength, more cognitive difficulty, and higher overall mortality. Independently linked means even after you account for calories, income, and existing health. One large Japanese study, among the most cited in this area, scored participants on how many of 23 different food groups they regularly consumed. Those who scored in the top third lived measurably longer and stayed physically functional for more years than those in the bottom third. The difference was not about superfoods or supplements, it was simply about range. More categories of food regularly eaten predicted better aging outcomes across the board. The leading explanation runs through the gut. Your intestinal microbiome, the vast community of bacteria living in your digestive system, feeds on the fibers, polyphenols, and compounds found in plants. Different species of gut bacteria thrive on different plant compounds. Eat the same narrow set of foods every week, and you are essentially feeding only part of that community while the rest quietly diminish. A less diverse gut microbiome in older adults has been linked in multiple studies to higher inflammation, weaker immune response, and faster cognitive and physical decline. Inflammation is the word that keeps appearing in this research, and it is worth pausing on. A certain level of inflammation is normal and protective, but as we age, a pattern called inflammaging, chronic low-grade inflammation that builds over years, becomes one of the primary drivers of frailty, heart disease, and cognitive change. A diverse diet, particularly one rich in a wide variety of plants, appears to dampen that background inflammation in ways a narrow diet simply does not, even if the narrow diet is otherwise healthy by conventional measures. There is also a nutrient coverage argument, and it is surprisingly straightforward. No single food, however nutritious, contains everything an aging body needs. Magnesium, zinc, B vitamins, specific antioxidants, prebiotics, they are distributed unevenly across the food world. Eating the same 10 foods faithfully means you are almost certainly missing compounds that only appear in foods you never buy. Deficiencies in older adults are far more common than most people realize, and they develop slowly and quietly, long before any obvious symptom appears. Now, none of this means you have to overhaul everything you eat, or that your familiar favorites are harming you. The research is not asking for perfection. What it consistently suggests is that small expansions matter, adding one unfamiliar vegetable to the weekly shop. Trying a legume you have never cooked before, swapping one grain for another. These are not dramatic gestures, but over months and years they appear to meaningfully shift the diversity score, and with it, the biological markers that predict how well someone ages. The practical takeaway from this body of research is calm and doable. Variety itself is a form of nutrition. Not a supplement, not a protocol, just range. Researchers sometimes frame it as aiming for 30 different plant foods per week, which sounds daunting until you realize that herbs, spices, nuts, seeds, and legumes all count. A sprinkle of flaxseed on your usual porridge is a new entry. A handful of walnuts is another. The gap between a narrow diet and a broad one is often smaller than it looks. The deeper point the research is making is this: how you age is not fixed at 65. The biology is still responding to what you do today, what you eat this week, what you introduce or leave out. A narrow diet is not a character flaw, it is just a habit, and habits can shift in small ways. The evidence suggests that broadening what you eat, even modestly, may be one of the most available levers an older adult has for staying sharper, stronger, and more independent for longer. That is a quiet but genuinely hopeful finding.